Welcome to TESPN. This is our first postseason broadcast because this is tournament time. LIS semifinal field hockey. And we've got the visitors, the number 4 seed from St. Anne's Belfield in Charlottesville, Virginia, and number 1 seeded regular season champion, Trinity Episcopal Titans hockey. Cooper, we've been here a few times this fall. We've had beautiful weather all our previous games. Today, a little bit different. Describe for our viewers what it's like out there.
Yeah, it's about a probably mid-50s degree day. It's been drizzling all day. A little bit worse in the morning, but it seems to calm down now. Both sides have got their tents up, and I'm really wondering how this is going to affect the field. Turf, as we both know, can get very slippery and slick. We're going to see how well both these teams are able to control the ball, because I think that's going to be a huge aspect to this game.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think, to my knowledge, this is the first wet weather game we've had on the turf. It's been a pretty dry fall altogether, and I don't believe it's rained on any game days yet for football or for field hockey. So I ran on this turf last night, and it had been drizzling a little bit, and it was a little slick, but it's supposed to drain really well. But you're right, this is going to really test the turf. And I would describe today's conditions as raw. I mean, it's just one of those days, a little bit windy. It's colder, even feels colder than the temperature might say. It's just wet. But you know what? It's November, and this is kind of what you're going to get. And the cool thing about it, and I think for this Titan field hockey program that's had so many championships, both league and state, in the last decade or so, is they know how to play in this weather because come November, the days get shorter, the weather gets colder, and this is when they give out trophies for the fall sport. So I think that these guys are prepared for this, but it's definitely – I think it's the chilliest day we've had this whole fall. So very different than when we were here really for all the games we've done. It's been like perfect, beautiful 70s. Not today. It is glad that we're in the press box. So we're staying dry, but really excited. Stab comes in at 9-7 on the season. These two teams played once early in the season, early September. I think it was just the second game for the Titans. Trinity did emerge a 2-0 victor, so Titans got the win, but it was certainly no walk in the park. You know, at times these guys have been dominant. They've had some wins, and 7-0, 8-0. That was not the case in the first meeting against St. Anne's. So we expect a tough game today. St. Anne's won their quarterfinal yesterday over St. Gertrude decisively. And meanwhile, the Titans got the bye as the number 1 seed, so they are a little bit fresher. They did practice yesterday, but Stab played a game yesterday, so we'll also see if that plays an impact and it plays a role in the outcome, with just maybe Stab being a little bit fatigued potentially. Although they seem to, they were up early, and they may have been able to rest some of the starters as well.
Yeah, and I mean, this is really a great test for any what I would consider to be great team. Is can they do it on a cold, rainy night? And while it might not be the night, it is cold and rainy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, an early turnover by the Titans. Nice steal by Stab's number 4. That's Abigail Shim. And Shim continues to progress the ball down the field. Shim is a senior for this Saints team. And these two teams, as I said, played once this season. Titans were able to get a 2-0 win as Kendall Fleet does well to not only control that ball but knock it off of the Saints player there. I believe that was number 5, Eden Block, and give the ball back over to possession to the Titans. But also the latest state rankings that just came out yesterday, Trinity is 2nd in the state behind Norfolk Academy, who the Titans lost to 4-3 in overtime, and Stab is 7th. So potentially, like the 2 and the 7 would be a first-round quarterfinal matchup for states as well. So it's possible that these two may see each other even again next week, as Olivia Schminke has the ball in the circle.
I think that actually might be Lainey Nichols.
She crosses it. Sorry, my view is a little bit blocked by that tent that Stab is under, but looks like it is going to come back out. And, yeah.
Now it's Olivia Schminke.
Yeah. Here comes Schminke going to goal, and just believe it was saved, so it's going to come back out top. But Schminke showed off that speed that we've become accustomed to seeing for her I swear, Coop, it seems like when she has the ball on her stick, she actually gets faster,
Completely agree.
which makes no sense because you would think that would slow you down. But something about having that ball just gets her into fifth gear.
Yeah, and field hockey is one of those sports where really the only way to get better is just spend hours and hours with just you stick the ball in some cones and just work on dribbling.
Yeah. Well, you can tell that Olivia Schmicke has put that work in for sure, along with so many of these other Titan players. And ball turns back over there as Mary Hazel Davis now controls, and she is put under some pressure. Good job there by Darcy Copsonis to win it and play it forward to Ava Benson. This tent makes things a little difficult for us to see, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Looks like Darcy's going to play it in from the sideline, and she'll play it back to Kendall Fleet, and she goes all the way back to Sarah Jane Ryan, and they're just going to sort of establish some possession here. And Sarah Jane's pass goes way forward.
And it seems like, as I mentioned earlier, both these teams seem a little uncomfortable with the turf conditions. They just haven't quite seen as comfortable as normal with the ball at their stick.
Yeah, 3 minutes in, and you're right. I mean, both teams have struggled to really connect many passes. And here's Mary Hazel Davis. That's a good look over to the right-hand side to, I believe, Ella Shirey, and Ella plays it into the circle. And now Mary Hazel Davis again goes with a backhanded cross. Got a lot of power behind that cross, but didn't quite find its intended target. And that's Lainey Nichols with the steal, and she's able to gain possession right outside the circle.
Yeah.
Plays it out to Shirey, back to Lainey Nichols. Oh, what a move by Lainey. She went with a nutmeg there. And now it pops out to Mary Hazel Davis. And she earns a corner for the Titans. So an early corner. Cooper, we've seen in all the games we've had the privilege to broadcast this fall that corners have been a key factor. Titans going back to the deep run game, the very first game on the new turf at Aycock Stadium, scored a couple goals off of corners, and they're very threatening from these set pieces.
Yeah, we've seen a couple different plays so far. We'll see where this one goes.
Yeah, it goes out top to Davis. She lays it off. A good shot and a goal by Lainey Nichols. And that's a great start, less than 5 minutes in. Well, we talked about those corner kicks being great opportunities, and sure enough, the very first corner of the game results in a Titan goal and an early 1-0 lead.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're looking for on the corner. Just a little bit of mayhem, a little bit of chaos, and then probably the Titans' best player with the ball at their stick puts it in for a goal.
Yeah, great. I mean, really dream start for the Titans for what they would be looking for.
And we'll see if Stab can counter here, but so far Titans have been in control of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, they've got to come in feeling a lot of confidence. Went through league play undefeated. The only two losses the Titans suffered this year to state number one in terms of private schools, Norfolk Academy, 4-3 in overtime, and then to the top public school in the state, Cox High School, as Mary Hazel Davis does really well to win that one through two defenders. So these Titans have had an unbelievable year, and I think it's important that we remind our viewers, because the field hockey tradition is so strong here at Trinity Episcopal, you don't want to take for granted. I mean, to win LIS regular season championship is a great accomplishment. And they certainly want to add to it a tournament title this week, and they've come out ready. Schmicke is in the mix right in front, and that's another goal. I think
it came off the foot of a defender. I think she might have lost it.
Yeah, I thought maybe Ava Benson got the last touch. Again, that tent that's a little bit blocking our view made it tough to tell. But
that was Schmicke's goal for her setting up. Made a beautiful run.
Well, at a minimum, it's definitely an assist for Schmicke. And I thought Ava Benson was involved as well, but a little tough to see. Ava Benson now going to come out. It looked like Coach Snead asked her, hey, did you score that? And it looked like Ava nodded her head that she did. So I think Ava's going to kind of claim it from what I can tell from here. For now, we'll give the assist to Schmicke and the goal to Benson. And her reward for scoring is a little break on the bench, as Carson Beatty makes her first appearance. Carson at times has started this year. Today, coming off the bench, the freshman has had a big impact on this field hockey team as a ninth grader. Really impressive. And
Yeah, I mean, goal-scoring machine.
yeah, she really has, man. Her speed and aggressiveness. If you follow our TESPN podcast, Carson was my rookie of the week for all, not just field hockey, but all of Titan athletics a couple of weeks back. So really enjoyed her. And the Titans are just pouring it on here early as they get close to another goal. But it looked like a nice save was made there by Stab's keeper. I believe that's Chloe Miller.
Yeah, the freshman.
Yeah, the freshman. Well, she's made a couple good saves for sure, and that cage is going to be under assault probably for most of this game, just with all the weapons that the Titans have. So yeah, perfect start. Still 8:45 to go first quarter, and Trinity already has 2 goals, which matches their the score line when they played Stab earlier this year. So we were definitely coming in expecting a tight one, and maybe it will end up that way, but you really couldn't have asked for a better start if you are a Titan fan, as Mary Hazel Davis goes through 3 defenders and emerges. Now she's going to take somebody else on, but able to get the pass over to Lainey Nichols. Lainey using some space, and she goes with a backhanded shot, crushed it just wide.
And I can't quite tell if she was going for a shot or a cross there. Maybe a little bit too hard for a cross, as I saw a couple Titans players trying to get out of its way. But
yeah, it looked maybe a little bit like it was just kind of one of those hit and hope deals where just going to play it in front of the cage with as much pace as possible and hope that someone gets a stick to it, even if it's a defender. So I like the idea, but it did go just wide. Yeah, that ball would have hurt if it hit somebody. And Stab there, not able to control as that one goes out of bounds, and Ella Shirey plays it back to Sarah Jane Ryan, the senior, over to her fellow senior Sarah Murphy Payne.
yeah,
And that's a nice little leading ball that Carson Beatty wins, and Carson putting the defenders under pressure.
And so far, it's really been all Titans. We'll see how if Stab, starts to put more pressure on the Titans' back line. But so far, their keeper has just been pummeled with shot after shot.
Yeah, one thing, at least the games that we've been here for, the Titans have tended to be a little bit more of a second half, even fourth quarter team. So at times started a little bit slowly. So I think Coach Snead is going to be thrilled for them to get off to a positive start right off the bat, establish the lead, and hopefully, if you're Coach Snead, you're able to get a couple more goals before halftime, and then those starters don't have to log as many minutes as we get this deep into the season. Any time you can take a break is always going to help preserve those legs for not just Thursday's potential championship game, but also with the state tournament next week, as that is the ultimate goal. Great pass there from Ella Shirey to I believe it was to Ellie Johnson, who laid it off to Carson Beatty. Beatty laid it back to Mary Hazel Davis, and her shot goes wide. But that was some really nice, Cooper, we talked a few minutes ago about each team struggling to establish much of a passing game, but the Titans were really able to connect 5 or 6 passes in a row there, and they're looking quite threatening to try and add on to this 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and this looks like Coach Snead's already had 2 subs up. And while she does normally like to rotate her attackers to keep them fresh, I believe both these players usually play more in the midfield. So we'll see if this is a sign where Coach Snead starts to rest their players. She has to like where she's sitting.
Yeah.
2-0 up, about 10 minutes gone in the first quarter. I don't think the ball's gone past the midfield in Stab's possession.
Not since the first minute.
Yeah.
I mean, right off the bat, Abigail Shim was able to carry it pretty deep into the Titan defense, but since then it's really been all Titans. Stab is going to get an opportunity here to go forward with it, and Mia Moorer, number 24, carries it forward. The sophomore looks to play it to the middle, but Sarah Jane Ryan did well to intercept and plays a beautiful ball out to the right to Shepard Ramsey, who's just checked into the game. And Shepard gets it to Olivia Schminke, and there we see those wheels again from Schminke. But well done by the Stab defender. Looks like that was
Willow Pemberton is who I saw that as.
Yeah, nice job by Willow Pemberton, the freshman defender, able to take the ball from Olivia Schminke, which is something that not many folks can do. So good job by Pemberton there. And
yeah, and it appears to be a pretty young Stab team here. Seen a lot of freshmen starting this game, so I mean, obviously this is a really tough Titans team, as actually Olivia Schminke goes out for Neely Wine-Fordner, and I believe that's Darcy going out for Skylar Wright.
Lindsay.
Oh,
Wright.
Lindsay Wright, sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, you don't see Schminke get too many breaks. She didn't look thrilled necessarily to be coming out, but I think Coach Snead has the bigger picture in mind. Like I said, just try and preserve these legs as much as possible, and then, if Stab is able to get a goal and draw one back, then certainly you can put some of those starters back in. But I like the move to use that bench and let some girls who haven't played always as much to get a little run out there, as Lainey Nichols brings the ball from midfield all the way into the circle and puts it over. Another hard shot by Lainey, and that's I think third one of those she's had where she's just crushed it.
On it. Yeah.
If any of those find the cage, we're going to hear it from up here.
I would not. I'd honestly probably be a little worried. That's where you have to enjoy all the padding you get.
Yeah.
As the field hockey keeper, because those shots are coming in hot.
Absolutely. Nice interception there by Ellis Shirey. She played it out to Shepard Ramsey and then goes back to Shirey. A big switch to Carson Beatty. Beatty puts a defender behind her. She didn't make great contact with that shot, though.
Whiff there.
Yeah, I'm going to look forward to history class tomorrow to remind Carson of her rare mistake there. You don't see that very often, but she kind of whiffed on that one.
Yeah, and hidden from the tent once again, looks like a foul called on the Titans.
Yeah, so Stab looks to progress it forward here, but they, just able to get it across midfield, but then that ball is played out of bounds and right back to Trinity. So, yeah, if you're Stab here, you've kind of stemmed the bleeding from those two early goals, struggling to really get a foothold in the game. But, Cooper, what do you think Stab can do to try and get themselves back into this thing?
I think this is going to sound crazy at first, but I think what you have to do here is put on a high press up on the Titans midfield and back line, because I think probably the Titans midfield, while it is very strong, might be the weakest part of their game compared to how strong and solid we've seen that back line and how deadly that attacking front can be. We know both those are really, really strong sides for the Titans, but we've seen, especially in the St. Catharines and collegiate game, they really stayed in it by stopping the link-up play between the defense and the midfield and trying to put a gap in there, forcing the Titans to play long balls, which we saw weren't nearly as effective as their traditional, tiki-taka-esque play in the middle.
Yeah, and Stab was able to progress it forward there, but a nice job by Lainey Nichols to get the steal and to spring the counterattack. And Coop, I think that's some good analysis, but then you do risk like what happened there, where if you bring too many numbers forward, you leave that space for players like Lainey Nichols. But Stab's done well here to get a steal and try and counterattack. But that pass by Addie Foster went out of bounds, and it'll go back over possession to the Titans. We are less than a minute to go in quarter number one. And Mary Hazel Davis is going to get her first break of the game as Ava Benson comes back in. Benson, we believe, we at least credited, as far as we're concerned, as the goal scorer of goal number 2.
Yeah, and she comes back in, honestly, a little bit farther back than where she normally I've seen her play, which is usually on the left or right wing, which is where it's clear she's probably the most comfortable. She loves making the runs into space and then putting in a cross for Olivia Schminke or Lainey Nichols.
Yeah, that's a good point, because let's see how this quarter finishes with 5 seconds to go, as Stab did get a ball get through there that went just wide, and that that should do it for the first quarter. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Ava usually is right along that front line, but Coach Snead, wanting players to be versatile and play in several positions, put her in for Mary Hazel Davis in the midfield part of the field. So I like it too with a 2-0 lead, getting fresh legs, getting everyone. I think other than Laney Nichols, I don't think any of the midfield or attack have played the whole first quarter. The defense has been unchanged, which you don't want to start messing with that with only a 2-goal lead. But I like the fresh legs. I like putting people in different positions and, just trying to improve everyone's versatility. So first quarter in the books, Titans with the 2-0 lead. Both goals came in the first 6 minutes or so, and then Stab did pretty well to at least, like you had said at one point, it felt like a just all-out assault on Stab's cage. But they did do a little bit better after that second goal and didn't have as much of a threat. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that a huge key in this game is who's going to score the next goal. We've talked about this before. I think when it's at a 2-0 scoreline, if St. Anne's is able to get this next goal, cut it to 2-1, then it's game on and they've got a shot. If the Titans make it 3, then I think you're just going to continue to see more liberal substitutions, and the Titans feel pretty confident at 3-0 ahead that they're going to be most of the way to today's goal.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think really, obviously, this is going to be a really hard road back to a tie or a win here for Stab. I think some key ways that they're going to have to attempt to get out of this here is, as I mentioned earlier, you got to press them in the field. I think if I had to pick 2 players that they have to neutralize in this game, is really usually we see Lainey Nichols and Olivia Schminke, one in the midfield and then one in attack. I feel like whichever one's in the midfield, you have to take them out. And then another player, I think, especially when she's playing, that you have to neutralize, either man mark them or just do something, try to suppress them, is Mary Hazel Davis. I feel like I always see her take the ball from the Titans defense and just carry it past 3 defenders and then send it up to, usually it's Schminke, Benson, Beatty, Johnson, or Nichols.
Right.
Usually one of those 5 up top. If you can take out those 2 really key midfielders for the Titans, that's going to be really your best shot at trying to get back into this game, because outside of that, once the ball gets on their stick, you can expect the ball to end up in your own box.
Yeah, and I think that's easier said than done because they are such good players. Yeah. And you mentioned Mary Hazel Davis. I mean, on a team full of athletic, fast, talented young ladies, she is as fast, I think, as any of them. So she's for sure a big threat. I think you're exactly right. Was just checking the other semifinal. Collegiate has jumped to a 2-0 lead against St. Catherine's after a quarter of play as well. So a lot of time to go there. I know they played each other twice in the regular season, and they each split, winning one game apiece. So really intrigued to see who comes out of that semifinal.
Who's at home there?
I believe it's at Collegiate.
Oh, so that's got to be a...
Yeah, and in the regular season, I believe the home team won each. So St. Catherine's won at home, and then Collegiate beat them over at Collegiate. So they were able to host today, and the winner of this game will play the winner of that other semifinal on Thursday. Time to be determined, but my guess would be 3:30 as that was the start time today. I think they're trying to start things a little earlier as the days are getting a little shorter. And these games could potentially, in a tie scenario, go deep into overtime. And
yes.
So I think they want to leave plenty of time. And next week we'll have a time change. I think the state games will start even historically. If we host a state game, it would start at 3, I think. So that would be Tuesday potentially. And as the number 2 ranking team in the state right now for field hockey, you would expect the Titans very likely to host a state game. Is that the top 4 all get to host? With a win today, you all but clinch that.
And then if we won the first game that we had at home, will we have a second, or would
Actually, I think so. I'm pretty sure that usually the Final Four is at a central location, but I believe this year the semifinals are also hosted by the better seed. So that's even more incentive to try and win this tournament, because as the 2 seed in the state currently, if the Titans are able to win this week, they would, I think, at a minimum maintain the 2, if not move up. and thus that probably gives you home field all the way to the championship. The championship is the state championship is a week from Saturday at St. Catharines.
Well,
So
that's
they're hosting regardless of whether they are involved or not.
and then even if you obviously you have to make it there, which is 2 big games away.
Yeah.
But that's got to be a huge advantage as opposed to playing somewhere like Norfolk. I know, for example, big field hockey community.
Yes,
Sure.
it's a good point because some years the state field hockey has been in Virginia Beach at the National Training Center, and then a couple times it was up in Northern Virginia
Ooh,
as Mary Hazel Davis gets
that's gonna
taken
look like it's
down,
gonna be a penalty.
and she was
Looks
tripped
like it
in
was
the
inside
box.
the box.
I think we got a card coming here.
Yeah, makes sense. It looked pretty just like the stick caught the foot there.
Yeah, so that's a yellow card for Stabs number 8, and that is Willow Pemberton.
And so far this game, she's actually done an
She's played
amazing
well.
job.
She's played well. I think just Mary Hazel Davis with that speed, she just underestimated, and it's going to be a penalty stroke for Lainey Nichols.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if she doesn't.
And she
And that's what you
crushes it.
expect there.
Crushes that into the corner.
And that's 3, and that's
That's
that
huge.
deficit just got a lot bigger for the Stab. I know it might only be 1 goal on the scoreboard, but morally it's just and mentally it's just seems so far away now. Now that you can have you can put a goal in the Titans' net and they still seem safe with 2-goal lead. But obviously still
And
well
frankly,
over half the play.
yeah,
here.
I mean they haven't even really threatened to score. So Titans got to feel good here, but this is also just a chance to continue to get better, and also get some different folks in the game. So Mary Hazel Davis has now come out after getting tripped up there in the box. I mean, I think she's fine, but I think Coach Snead used this as an opportunity to continue to keep those fresh legs. Ellie Johnson is in up top. Carson Beatty is now dropped into the midfield. So like we talked about at the quarter break, just seeing different players in different positions, working on that versatility. And now Beatty brings the ball forward into the attack, and she's gone past several defenders, now crosses it, a nice cross.
Didn't miss that one. Yeah.
No, she didn't. And she's going to earn a corner for the Titans. Their last corner ended up in a goal. And a penalty stroke ended up in a goal, also scored from open play. So they've kind of done it every way you can score today already with still 12:25 to go in the first quarter.
We talked earlier about how the Stab seemed to stop the bleeding a little bit, but that wound is back open with that Lainey Nichols goal. And we'll see it here. I mean, there's so many weapons, so many powerful shot takers here for Titans. It could go to anyone, I'd say 5 or 6 players for a shot.
Yeah, and Stab's still at a man disadvantage as Pemberton is still on that yellow card and sitting out that penalty. The ball comes in and it is kicked away, but followed up and just wide by Olivia Schmicky. So nice job there by Chloe Miller, the goalkeeper for Stab. She was able to get a foot save and then able to watch that ball drift wide. So Stab able to successfully defend that corner, which has got to be a boost since the previous corner ended up in the cage in the back of the net.
Yeah, and we'll see if Stab can really do a lot here. I mean, you always hope for a competitive game, especially in the playoffs. But so far, Titans have just been absolutely dominant.
Yeah, no doubt. As now the Titans, just some nice possession. Lainey Nichols plays it out to the right to Neely Weinfordner, who chases it down, keeps it in bounds. Now Neely looks for, that's Olivia Schmicky. Now the ball stolen by Lainey Nichols. And ultimately she's deemed to have fouled, and so it is going to come out with Stab as they're able to catch their breath, get some numbers forward, and they turn it right back over, though, intercepted by Schmicky, and here she comes into the circle.
Yeah, looks like interfered with the Stab defender there. And you can tell, I think Ava Benson did in the end claim the goal. I saw at the end of the first quarter. She was laughing on the Titans bench saying, I got that one, so we'll see.
Yeah, our Twitter crew also credited Benson with a goal, which Mr. Flowers is right behind the cage, so he had a great vantage point. So he also gives it. So we're going to say Ava Benson did get that second goal. Lainey Nichols has the first and the third. and I think there's some other Titans that would love to get in on the scoring if they could.
Not quite sure if it looks like it might have hit the foot is what I'm going off of.
Yeah, intercepted there by Shep Ramsey, and Shep shows some nice poise and plays it back to Olivia Schminke. And then she looks for Lainey Nichols, and now Lainey has some space.
Oh, she was going for the hat trick there.
She was. Played that one a little bit wide. I noticed Stab had their number 5, Eden Block, a senior who's been one of their strong players, warming up on the sideline. Looked like she was testing a possible injury. I haven't been able to tell it if she went back in the game, though, but they've been putting her through her paces, and I think
you can't see her, so I assume she.
It looks like she's about to check back in now. So Block has spent a little bit of time just working through some things, and she is coming back into the game and replacing Cadigan Perriello, another ninth grader. The Saints team has 6 ninth graders on their varsity team. So future definitely looking bright for the Saints and for the Titans with a loaded sophomore class. And here's a junior, Olivia Schmicke, dicing through the defense. But good job. Another block by Miller and keeps it at 3.
I'll be shocked if she doesn't have a goal by the end of the half. Maybe, definitely, probably by the end of the third quarter, she'll have one.
Yeah, I think
as
long as she continues to get quality playing time, I do think it feels like a matter of time. So finally, that yellow card, that was a 5-minute penalty. So the Saints have been playing a man down for 5 minutes with Willow Pemberton, finally now able to come back on. And that should help. She's been one of their best defenders today. Got a little unlucky that when Mary Hazel Davis came at her at speed, you don't see many people come that fast, so she did trip her up. It was a good call, no doubt, but no malice there. And good to see Pemberton being able to come back in for Stab. And ball goes out for the Titans, possession, and Kendall Fleet, who hadn't had a whole lot to do today, looks for Sarah Murphy Payne, but that ball escaped her. And now Stab looks to bring it forward for a rare foray forward by Ellen Bartholomew. And now intercepted, I believe, by Darcy Copsness. The tent a little bit in the way again for us, but Darcy couldn't quite get that one over to Carson Beatty. But Kendall Fleet sweeps in, intercepts. She gets her head up and all right, so welcome back. Sorry, we lost streaming ability there for a while, but we are back. Still 4-0 with the Titans on top, or it may have actually been 3-0 when we last spoke, but a fourth goal right before halftime. So we got 11 minutes left in the third quarter, 4-0 Titan lead here in this LIS semifinal. And we have the privilege and honor of being team here as well as a couple LIS championships. And Annie, this time of year, as we get into the postseason, what do you remember? And obviously, you have kind of a line into the coaching staff, and they're thinking, what's the mindset in this time of year when it gets to playoffs?
Well, I know Coach Need's biggest thing is she wants her teams to be hitting their peak around this time. You know, you don't want to peak too early. You don't want to get that confidence up too early. You want to always be improving because once postseason comes, it's a new season. So you got to think about it as a clean slate. And seeing all these teams that you usually play 3 to 4 times a year, you know, you have to be able to adapt. And, you know, they're going to be studying the old game, so you want to bring something new and be a dynamic team by the end of the year. And also just thinking about, you know, playing as a unit. Not one single player is going to win you a game, so you need everybody engaged, everybody in it, and everybody love playing. And I think players that have fun do the best. And I just loved being on the team and playing with my friends, and I think
Well, it was an absolute pleasure to watch you play in high school. I mean, the team
players are great. They're really
is last year, so for most of this team, this was their first regular season title, and that's why I think it is such a big deal. As well as hopefully come Thursday, being able to add an LIS tournament title. Just think about like, yeah, but we won the championship, and like that gives me confidence.